When we began filming A Year in the Life of Sika, Niall made a prediction. He said that this alien, non-native deer, which he finds so fascinating, will become the dominant deer species in Scotland.
This isn't a romantic pastime. This is just good, solid, hard graft.
His reasons: government's plans to increase Scotland's forest cover, handy as Sika thrive in thick forest. Then you have the landowners. Some manage them, others ignore them. And lastly, Sika are hard to hunt. Reds are comparatively easy, so no prizes for guessing which one is ending up in the larder. In this last episode, we want to test his theories by speaking to government, by getting a bird's eye view of the situation.
Sika have this ability to pinpoint the drone in the sky without fail every time.
And we return to discuss our findings with Professor Rory Putman, who is in a straight-talking mood.
But it's sort of common sense, isn't it?
As we complete A Year in the Life of Sika. It's March in the Highlands of Scotland, and it's a bit nippy and crispy underfoot. This is not going to help Niall as he tries to reach his Sika targets by the end of the month.
We still know there's a number of Sika coming in here, but they've been gone from this site an hour before daylight. What we're hoping now is in some of the open ground higher up, that as the sun comes out, they'll come out and enjoy a moment in the sun. Let's see if we're right.
What adds insult to injury is what he witnessed last night through his Hike Micro Falcon. It's a case of now you see them, now you don't.
So it's at the end of the winter culling period. They're not daft, they know we're after them. We've demonstrated this all the way through, that they're quite a resourceful and clever little animal. So they've withdrawn well before daylight back into thick cover. What we're hoping this morning now is as the sun comes up and things warm up, the deer will move again. One, because as the frost comes off the ground, the grass is easier to reach for them, and two, the sunlight on their body means that they use less of their own energy to digest what's in their stomach. They're going to rely the warmth from the sun to stimulate the bacteria in the stomach. So they'll probably come out where they can and lie in sheltered spots in the sun and basically do what we do, enjoy a bit of the sunlight.
You've got video footage exactly where we're stood from the thermal equipment of a dozen Sika deer standing in this very spot. We're not going to control them at 8:30 in the morning. They're not here. They were gone this morning before 5 a.m. They were drifting off this side. So these animals are adapting quickly to us. The worrying thing about them from a deer management point of view is that the effort to take them is extreme, and they're one of the few species I'm aware of that even at high density they're still incredibly fecund. So this isn't a battle we're winning at the moment, and unless we collaborate it's a battle we won't win.
Someone else who knows how clever and cunning these Sika deer are is drone pilot Ben Harrower. We've been trying to catch up with him for months as he flies around the UK counting deer for landowners and managers.
But the only two species I've seen the ability to pinpoint a drone just every time aerial is Sika and Barasingha. We did some work with Barasingha in Woburn. We did a count there, and yeah, they were the same. So it's interesting. So they're fascinating, really elusive, and surveying very. You've got to really know the population and the pressures they're under when you're surveying them, because if they're shot quite heavily, doing a daytime survey is just not. You know, they'll be in thick spruce that the drone can't get through at all. So timing with Sika, a Sika survey is more important than any other species because of their elusive nature.
Ben's about 600 miles south of Niall, completing a survey of wetlands near Lowestoft in Norfolk. It's a hotspot for Chinese water deer. The current thinking is that there are 5,000 of them in the UK. If that's the case, half of them are here.
When we're down in England here, the muntjac and the Chinese water deer densities are just incredible. And when you look at some of the literature, especially on Chinese water deer, the only literature really that exists might say there's 5,000, or it might be this, but we've counted about 2,500 just on this one job. You know, so when you start thinking, you know, where there's a lag there on actually really getting to grips with just how well some of these species are doing in some habitats.
It just shows the importance of Ben's work in trying to get a handle on the spread and density of our deer and our boar.
Things are spreading. So take boar, for example. We're finding boar in loads more locations than either previously known or they've just arrived, and you know we then try and get a figure on them. The spread of muntjac, that's obviously sort of ongoing all the time. Chinese water deer are ongoing. Densities of fallow, you know, they're exceptionally high. You know, you can have herds, single herds of well over 1,000, sometimes 1,500 plus in parts of England. The only species in place where I'd actually say there may be a decline or certainly a freezing could be the Scottish uplands with red deer. You know, there's more ownerships doing restoration work or woodland creation. You know, we don't see a growing trend there. Urban roe deer in Scotland, you know, Sika, all that's increasing generally, or you know, in spread and density. So yeah, I'd say everything's spreading or increasing unless action's been reversed, maybe apart from that upland red deer scenario, which yeah, there's obviously a lot of high-profile projects that are lowering deer.
So far, he and his team have surveyed 10% of Scotland. That's a big chunk of ground. So what does he think about Niall's hypothesis?
Definitely, the Sika, you know, we've done some projects with different organisations where we've monitored them over time. So we've done multiple surveys back to back, and with a heavy culling regime in these forests. And what you see is the red deer are get lowered, and the roe deer get lowered, you know, predictably in a lot of cases where, you know, counted X amount got culled. There's immigration, you know, things move in. But Sika in, you know, cliff faces, marshy areas and steep sort of thickets, we often find that regardless of the sort of culling pressures, that those deer still remain. You know, it's almost like certain pockets of Sika just never actually need to leave that habitat, and they're always in, you know, you speak to this, you know, stalkers and see carcasses, they're always in good condition. So I mean, they're, you know, you've got an animal that's extremely adaptable to the harshest environment. And you know, when we've done big projects, we did one up in Ascent Living Landscapes, and you know, the red deer were sort of spread throughout on the open range typically, but these little ribbons of, you know, the sort of rainforest fragments, so you want to call it that, you know, there's just high density of Sika just following these ribbons, and that's how they were basically spreading. You know, it's very seldom we picked up Sika on the open range there, but you had, you know, anything more than a cluster of trees and there was at least a few Sika in it. So no, I think the woodland increase in Scotland is, yeah, it's inviting the Sika to spread and hold unless, yeah, people reverse it.
From deer out in the open enjoying the warm spring sunshine in Norfolk to Sutherland in the cold and the dark, Niall has a soup on the go to keep him on his toes. This is not recreational stalking.
It's open, as you can see. Tuck out the road.
Why do you always film me eating? I'm a messy eater at the best of times.
But just explain to viewers what's actually going on right now.
The bottom line here is, this is about getting a crop of trees away. But to my mind, with deer management, particularly things like Sika, we should be proactive rather than reactive. But as we've said all the way through this, no one is fundamentally focusing on Sika. And as we came into the woodland tonight, you could see a roe deer standing at the side of the road looking at you. Now, she's in below the restock side, but I didn't take her deliberately, because the last thing I want to do is send a clear message to the Sika that we're in town. The roe deer we can catch up quite easily. We'll get to her in daylight hours. But this lot coming into the restock, as you'll see, this will be a middle of the night exercise.
The truck is parked with a decent vantage point. To Niall's surprise, a Sika hind has sneaked out to our left. He only clocked it because he was getting his blazer sticks from the back of the truck. Niall, Stevie and David think they're in for an early night, but branches clearly picked up through Niall's Stellar 3 scope and the Falcon spotter means it's back to waiting and watching in the truck. Niall throws caution to the wind and stalks up the forest track. It's another still night, and the Sika he planned to stalk into retreat at speed.
Sika deer are undoubtedly one of the toughest species under pressure to deal with in the UK. I've maybe not done an awful lot of fallow, but I've done a fair bit of fallow, a lot of red deer and a lot of roe, and a bit of sika. And you saw yourself tonight that they just, slightest disturbance, and even trying to get near them on foot in the restock, they were aware of us moving around tonight. The one opportunity we did get, the point to take away from that is that, particularly when you're using thermal or image intensifying equipment, you could see all the branches in front of the animal, and best practice is that you're there to kill them humanely, and the chances of deflection and injury rather than a clean kill in that situation, I just made the decision not to take the shot. But it's been a long winter, and we've been on their back for a few months. I think them, Stevie and I, could do with a break. Maybe a few beers. What do you think, Stevie? A few days in the sun?
A few days in the sun would be nice.
Or even a few nights in your bed. But anyway, you give it your best shot, you can't do any more than that.
Leaving empty-handed and a bit weary from chasing deer in the dark, we skip a morning stalk and enjoy watching Neil's red hinds settling in around his croft. This image is through the new Hike Micro Falcon. It's then off to see Professor Putman. It's an opportunity for us to discuss the responses we've just received from NatureScot about Sika deer management in Scotland.
I just wondered how they arrived at 45,000. Do we have reasons to question that, or is that the best guesstimate to work from?
No one has ever undertaken a full survey of any of the species across the whole of Scotland, across the whole of the United Kingdom, but it's the best figure that we can deal with. It's the one that everybody has agreed to, if you like. It's possibly an underestimate, it's possibly dated by now, but it's the one that is usually trotted out. I think I've used it myself.
One of the things they highlighted was a thing we were aware of, which is this control scheme on Loch Ness side.
Yes.
And I personally welcome it, because I think it's for the first time that I'm aware of in NatureScot's remit of looking after deer. They've actually turned, should we say, the spotlight or the night vision on Sika deer and come up with an incentive scheme for people to control Sika. There's a figure that they've offered people. I think it doesn't match the time commitment. But do you see schemes like that working if there isn't something in the background saying to everyone with Sika in the range, you must make a reduction or you must halt the spread?
I don't see that voluntary schemes are likely to work, even in areas where the Sika aren't seen as a resource. I think government has to make a decision one way or the other. Either we accept that Sika are now part of our wildlife, I won't say native wildlife, but they're part of our free-ranging wildlife and we accept that, or they want to try and address the expanding range and expanding numbers. I don't think we'll be able to reverse it. We might be able to slow the spread. In the long run, the horse has bolted. And I think Sika will continue to spread, whatever our efforts. Maybe we can slow it down, but I don't think we can stop it completely, particularly with, as I say, new woodland initiatives causing new habitat, creating new corridors. I think we can, if the will is there, it could be slowed. I don't think it can be stopped.
Wise words.
But it's a personal opinion. And it's a crystal ball.
Yeah.
I'll be dead before it matters.
I in my darker moments, I fear in the future a Scotland dominated by Sika-like deer, to quote yourself, and quite a large population of feral pigs.
Yeah.
And by then, if I'm still here, I'm sure I'll have retired. Rory, as always, thank you very much.
Pleasure,
Really
Neil.
Appreciate it.
To wrap up our year, we finish where we started, Rose Hall, where a deer park with a small population of Japanese Sika contributed to that spreading population of at least 45,000.
The takeaway from this is that what lies ahead is probably a Sika, or if not a hybrid population of deer, and probably the thing we're going to follow on from here is to look at their new companion, which is the feral pig. And is that what lies ahead for Scotland? we seem to be sweeping away one system of land ownership and use, and I'm not sure we've come up with a better solution for the future. We might not be talking about 1 million deer in Scotland in the future, we may be talking about more. But I don't think there'll be Highland red deer in open moorland. I think there'll be Sika hybrids in thicket woodland. And my deep concern is, where are the resources and where are the people to deal with this? And large carnivores are not the answer.
We'd like to thank everyone who has helped produce this series, especially the manufacturers of the kit Niall has found vitally important to manage the Sika on his clients' commercial forests. He has faith in his Hornady outfit around, hike micro image quality for species identification, and devastating accuracy from the Blaser R8 rifles. Links to all of them below.